What the hell was that?
That is our new strategy.
That was a strategy? Looked to me like everyone just took the first 2 periods off.
Exactly.
What?
Okay, look. We take it easy through the first 2 periods. Really lull them into a false sense of security, and then BAM! Hammer them in the third.
I have some notes. First of all, if I wasn't stellar, we lose that game by 4.
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
I mean, I agree. Why do you think we pay you so much?
So you're telling me that going forward, if I'm not stellar at my job, then we lose. And that's by design.
Yeah.
God, I love playing in Boston.
Low quality fiends of a high quality Bruins team that is a dub! Not one you expected. Not one you expected. And if you watched the first 40 minutes of the game, not one you expected. My goodness, what a win. What a geeky win. We're geeking out. The guy is... Oh, I was so mean to him for so long. And we're going to talk about Geekie at the end of this video a little bit because he's an RFA and contract stuff, deadline coming up. Do you move him? Do you keep him? All this kind of stuff. So we're going to have an honest conversation about Geekie, but he's been great. He's been one of the hottest goal scorers in the league over the past month plus. I mean, he literally is top 10 in goal scoring, maybe top 12, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but he's hot. And I mean, Pasternak and him have a great chemistry building. Zacha is part of that equation. I don't think Zaka's been at that same level, but I mean, the line's working. The line got caved all night, but then they didn't. And that's the thing is, the Bruins this year, that's how we're built. Possession? No. Are we gonna outshoot teams? Absolutely not. We're not gonna outpossess them. We're not gonna have more attacking time. We're not going to look better than them. But we're just not. It's not how we're built. We're slow and we're hulking. There were some insane takes after this game made about the Bruins team, which were fascinating, about how good we are. And look, loving the wins. I want the wins to continue. I said it before. Here's what I think the Bruins should do. Basically, deadline sellers. But here's what I want to happen. I want us to make the playoffs. A, because it's fun. I love the playoffs. Who doesn't? And B, I think it would be really funny. I think it would be really funny if this team somehow made the playoffs, especially after the first 2 months of the season. Well, really the first month of the season. That was about as bad as it could have gone. Either way, let's talk about a few things, such as liking, commenting, subscribing. Nailed it. Thank you again to all the high quality inspectors. The shout outs at the end of the video, everything like that. You guys do make a huge difference in allowing me to do this kind of stuff, so I greatly appreciate you. In the Discord, I shouted it out the other day, the predictions game, and a few people joined in. And Jambi, our illustrious friend, who runs the predictions game, said that if we get any bigger, that he's going to have to make a whole nother sheet or something. I don't know. I say we do it to him. I say everyone pours in and just becomes part of the predictions game because it is a lot of fun. And I'm going to win this week. I'm telling you that right now. I'm going to win this week. I predicted all dubs. All right, excellent. Let's talk about this Avs team a little bit. We beat them 5-3 in October when they had a billion injuries. And the world's most overrated goaltender in Georgiev, who I had been saying for years isn't actually good. And he's not. He did have 40 wins the same year that Ullmark won the Vezina. A lot of Avs fans were really upset at me about that. Avs fans are great. I'm not getting on them. But they're like, Georgiev, 40 wins, just like Ullmark. 40 wins with 30 more games played. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Georgiev's not very good. He's not very good. And now he's on the Sharks because the Sharks wanted to keep tanking. That's kind of a big sign that the goalie's not very good. Either way, Blackwood is now in for the Avs. It's actually Wedgwood who's going to play against us, their backup, his turn in net. They have Mileswood, Blackwood, and Wedgwood. That team's got a lot of wood. They still have a bunch of injuries, too. Nichushkin's out. Landeskog, if you count him, is still out, of course. Shillington's out, and potentially Miles Wood out as well. He was a game-time decision, and he did not end up playing. All of this is overshadowed by the fact that Mikko Rantanen, the Moose, which is, I mean, look, I know it's not the most clever nickname in the world, but man, is it a good one. That's just a really great nickname. Mikko Rantanen is no longer a Colorado Av. No, he's a Hurricane now. Which, for those of us in the East, went, shit. If they retain him, oh my gosh, that Carolina team, man. I'm so scared of them. Now, the great debate here, actually we'll get to that. So they make the trade, right? Mikko Rantanen is out. In come Jack Drury and Marty Necas. They get a little younger. They're more cost controlled. Necas is got this year and next year on his contract. He's a top 6 talent. Jack Drury is a bottom 6 talent, but I really like the honest way he plays the game. I think it's a consistent, honest effort. I like Jack Drury. I'm a Drury fan. Here's the thing. There are 2 thoughts of why the Avalanche made this trade. Because there are picks involved in everything. Taylor Hall also went over to the Canes. But it did feel like the best player that moved was Rantanen. I think that's a general consensus there. We're taking this time to do this because you're going to see how the first 2 periods, I have nothing to say about them. So we're just going to take some time to begin the video. So there's 2 trains of thought here. They weren't sure if they could get Rantanen re-signed due to cap constraints and where his number was at, whether it was a good idea analytically or not, all this good stuff. Now, the Avalanche, in my opinion, have been a very, very smart front office for a while now. Very, very good at what they were doing. Yeah, they lucked out with the McKinnon stuff and like that draft, and great, good for them. And they tanked for years. They were terrible. But the ongoing process of keeping this team competitive, if they didn't have as many injuries as they had, I truly believe that the Colorado Avalanche would have a few cups in the past 8 years. Yeah, 6, 7 years. Either way. So, can they re-sign him? Is it worth it? The is it worth it is the interesting part. That's the second thing that people are looking into, because under the hood of that team that watched this guy play since he was a rookie, like this guy's a homegrown talent for them, why were they comfortable moving off of him? Especially because Marty Nachos has been dealing with an injury through the season after that really hot start. And disgruntled in Carolina, isn't great defensively at all. There's just some concerns there. Now, obviously, he's a true top 6 talent. He might be a 100-point player for the long term. Like, obviously, that was the pace he was at earlier in the season. And he's still at a great pace now. But there are concerns with Marty Nachos. So why would you move the better player? Because Necas is going to be very expensive in 2 years' time as well. There is speculation that under the hood, the Avalanche went, no, we think this is more of a product of McKinnon and Makar than we think it is Rantanen. That does not mean that Rantanen is not a top-line talent. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means he's not Leon Draisaitl, being the second best player on a team, or in Rantanen's case, he would be the third, and being paid like a superstar, like an absolute superstar, because that contract is going to come in at a huge number in all likelihood. So there are some thoughts there. There are some who are believing that, hey, maybe the Carolina Hurricanes are getting hoodwinked a little bit here. I don't believe it. I think Rantanen's the real deal. I think he's one of the best power forwards in the league. The dude can mash, dude can score. I mean, he's literally their leading goal scorer, or was their leading goal scorer. I feel good about that trade for the Hurricanes. I think it's fine for the Avs, although I think they took a little bit of a step back this season. There's some scary moments on both sides, but I don't know. I don't buy into that as much. I think it's a very interesting thought experiment, and I think it's very fair to be like, I don't know. I mean, why is Colorado comfortable with this? Those who are saying it's a panic move, again, I see the train of thought. I have a hard time seeing this being a panic move weeks before the deadline. I just don't. I don't know. There's something I feel like that will come out eventually that makes a lot of us go, oh. But at the surface level of trade, it's still like, I can see it. I can see why that makes sense. So it's just a lot of thought experiment to go along with this. It's a lot of fun. This is a genuinely fun trade to talk about. Anyway, we'll move on. The season has continued to be rough for the Avs after a pretty slow start. Most of it can be attributed to the injuries, but the roster certainly has flaws. They lack depth on the wings and are struggling to get production from really their middle six in general. I mean, obviously the fourth line isn't producing very much as well, but the fourth line isn't always meant to. Basically the way it shakes out is McKinnon has 75 points this year. Great. Really good. The next closest Av right now would be Marty Necas with 55. The next closest forward, I should say. And the next closest forward after that is Middlestat with 29. It's a huge drop-off. I'm not worried. I'm really not. I think it's a flawed team. I think every team in the league this year is flawed. I think you can say that about every team every year, but there are some that get really close to that. Like, they don't really have a weakness. You just have to be damn good to beat them through a 7-game series. Like, you just have to match how good they are. The Avs, when healthy, I still think can beat anybody in a 7-game series. They'll need a couple bounces like anybody would. They'll need good health for the playoffs. Like, things still have to go your way. We've learned that more and more and more and more through the past 10, 15 years of hockey. You still have to be a little lucky to win the cup. Not a lot of lucky, but a little lucky to win the cup. And the Avs are right in the conversation of like, I just need a little luck, but I can get there. The Bruins, on the other hand, we're going to continue to fuddle along. That's all we're going to do. Geekie Zaka Pasternak. Marchand, Patrick Coyle. I don't know why I keep switching those, but I do. Frederick Lindholm, Lettieri, Jones, Beecher, Brazeau, Zadorov, Peak, Callahan, Carlo, Lorne, Wotherspoon, Swayman, and Net. He was dealing with an upper body injury. We were told it was minor, but I didn't believe it at the time, and look at that. It was minor. We are still missing McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, Cole Koepke, Mark Kostelic, who would have had a heyday in this game. Kostelic would have had a lot of fun in this game, I think. And then Brown and DiPietro are sent back down to Providence. Brown, thank God. DiPietro, we just had a goaltender come back. It's fine. He wasn't likely to get into a game anyway. Korpisalo would have started again tonight, I believe. One thing about this lineup before we get started. The national broadcast, I like to try to give as much grace as I can to national broadcasts because this channel has taught me that you cannot cover every team in the league to a way that's going to be even somewhat acceptable to diehard fans of their teams. Every year, the videos I make that include all 32 teams, power rankings or trade stuff or whatever, there are fans of those teams who are like, you're an idiot! You don't see this going on? You're a moron! And they're talking about something that's very, very much I would only know if I watched them night in and night out. That being said, the national talk, the broadcast during the game, talking about how Zadorov has done everything the Bruins could have asked him to. I don't think you have to be a diehard Bruins fan to see or to know that Zadorov has not been that. And he's actually been egregiously bad for large stretches of this season. And I also thought he was pretty dang good in this game. Both of those things can be true. It's just rarer for me to say Zadorov had a good game than it is for me to say he had a bad game. I do think he's been steadier lately, but this was a good game. And actually, this was a good game by the entire defensive structure, but we'll get there. Let's finally talk about this game, shall we? Puck drops! First period. This is my one note from first period. That was 20 minutes of the Bruins holding on for dear life. Though the defensive structure was good, shots were 12-5 after 1. That's it. I don't know what to say about the period, man. Like, I wanted to take notes. I literally tweeted out that I'm going to have to do this from the perspective of the Avs because the Bruins haven't done anything for me to even talk about. There were no penalties or power plays. There was nothing interesting from the Bruins. There was one actual sort of scoring chance, and it was a depth shot from Pasternak. Like, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. We got outsped. They were so much faster. They had the Avalanche had the puck the whole time. The whole time. It was absurd watching this, and it was painful. I guess the one note there is Swayman was pretty good. But out of those 12 shots, not a lot of them were very high danger. Maybe 3, which is still like more than you'd like to give up in one period, but you're still sitting there going, all right. I mean, the structure was there for how much they had the puck. Yeah. Second period starts, 1:30 in. And as a Bruins fan right now, with the way the season's gone, you're just like, this is going to get ugly soon. There's no way. It's just going to take one, and then the Avalanche is going to start pouring down on us. So 1:30 in, early. Avs are just way faster still. Bruins can't even get set up in the zone. Patra loses a board battle on the left side after holding the puck too long. This is one of his big weaknesses right now. It's something he's really got to work out of his game, is you get that puck, they're going to close on you. You have to make a decision. You can play this dipsy doodle Marchand stuff, and he's going to get better at it, and I do think that he's going to be effective at it the way Marchand is with his shimmies and kind of working players to one side of him and then squirreling around the other way. I think that's part of Patro's potential, and it took Marchand years to develop that until he was a true offensive threat. It took him years to get there, and Patro, I think, is going to be similar with that. But in the meantime, you still have to be able to make a decision and get that puck deep. He loses this puck high on the left wall. Too high. It breaks an odd-numbered rush the other way, especially when Coyle comes over trying to snuff it out early and is unable to do so. Middle stat on the right wall. He's going to dish it off to Parsonen, who's going to lead a 3-on-2. Now, the 3-on-2 breaks into a 2-on-2 after they cross the blue line, right after, because Manson, who looked like he was going to join in on this on the left side, and the reason that Lohrei stayed over into the center of the ice, well, he, as soon as he crosses that blue line, kicks it back to make the change. So Lohrei is effectively covering no one, and it's just an empty space. But it's not like he made the wrong play, because if Manson was going to join that, they had to be prepared for it to go to that side. He couldn't just completely cheat it over with Wotherspoon, who, by the way, was staying in front of the puck carrier rather than kind of cutting into the other space closer to the eventual goal scorer, which is Lehkonen on the right. Not exactly the wrong play by Wotherspoon, because he also thought this was going to be a 3-on-2. Either way, it's dished off to the right. Lohrei's covering no one. Wotherspoon's a little bit too close to the slot, meaning Lehkonen just gets to skate right into the right circle, take his time, fires this far blocker. Not sure if it was posting in, but it was pretty close if it wasn't. And that's 1-0. Hell of a shot. And I had the thought, man, this is about to pour down on us. We just got outsped for an easy-ish looking goal, and this team can't catch up. And they couldn't. For the next 10 minutes, the Bruins would manage 2 shots on net. Through the next 10 minutes after that, they would manage 1 more. There was a tripping penalty in there as well. Pasta, we killed that off. But shots after 2 are 19-8. We are in a 1-goal deficit going into the third. And I had a weird little thought. I'm rambling on too much. It's so funny when I don't have a lot to talk about the game, I actually make the video longer because I'm just talking about stuff. I had this little thought during second intermission. I went, you know what? Third periods have actually been all right. Not the last minute or 2 minutes of a third period, but lately, the Bruins actually go into the third, and they've been looking like the better team for stretches. It's almost like this lack of speed and agility means they're retaining more energy, and the third period comes around, and they just start banging bodies. So frankly, when Swayman holds us into these games, or Korpisalo, nice shotty the other night, I barely mentioned it in the last video. I certainly should have. I apologize for that. But when your goalie keeps you within 1, I don't know. I'm not saying I thought we were gonna start, pouring it on or anything, but I was like, we kind of have a chance here. They scored 1 goal. We haven't created any offense, but they scored 1 goal, and then for the next 18 and a half minutes, we played with them. Sure, we lost most of our shifts. We allowed more than we created, but the defensive structure was there, and we're still in this game. It's a 1-shot game. Third period starts. 25 seconds in, the Bruins kill off the last few seconds of that penalty because it did bleed into the third. The Bruins break out of their zone with speed. Pasta with speed, right? Weird. Pasta down the right wall. And he's going to have Zacha driving to the net through the center. Classic move. The 2 defensemen have to respect it. So at least one of them has to dip. But you also can't leave Pasta to just do whatever he wants. So either both defensemen dip a little bit trying to keep their angles on the triangle, or one defenseman attacks Pasta, one defenseman takes care of Zacha, and you leave Geekie wide open. So they opt to stay in their structure and keep backing up a little bit. Just a little bit too much. Geekie notices this. He keeps the seam open. He's on the left side, and that pass is perfect, tape to tape across the top of the slot. Geekie's going to hammer this on net. The defenseman's just a little too far in front of him to affect the shot truly, and it is going to beat Wedgwood. I had to think of which wood I was talking about. Wedgwood, low blocker, and it is 1-1. 25 seconds in a third, and you've just taken momentum. Hold on. The Bruins might be kind of cooking. The Bruins might be doing something here. 148 in. This is A minute and a half later, Lettieri in front of the net, their net, battling, high sticks a defender. Offensive zone penalty. Brutal timing. Great kill. It's a great penalty kill. The Avs go back to doing what they were doing. Like the Bruins were playing with them, but they're still faster. They're still possessing the puck more. They're still getting in the offensive zone and setting up. But the structure stayed. And again, out of all these shots, the Bruins weren't allowing a ton of high danger ones. Swayman was making some good saves, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have to deal with what we were watching through the first half of the season as much, where it was these backdoor tap-ins, these net front right in his grill chances. No, we were keeping a lot of it to the outside. And then 6:03 in, it's a bad puck play by Wedgwood behind his net. It gives behind his net. It gives Zacha a free puck on the left wall. He's going to smack this right back down to Pasta. Now Pasta, there's two defenders in front of the net, but he swiftly kind of kicks himself up to the bottom of the left circle, and the defense reacts as if a top 5 scorer in the league just got into a, albeit sharp angle, scoring position. But what they forgot is the hottest player in the league was sitting back door. Perfect pass. Easy finish for Geekie. And it is 2-1. Geekie's up to 2 goals, and he stays elite. Eleekie. Ugh, that's probably not great. I'll go with it, though. What a huge goal. Pasta is doing everything for this team right now. He's on a different friggin' level. And then we survive. The next 14 minutes, we survive. 2.3 seconds left. We bury an empty netter. A 3-1 win. We survived. We not only go into the third period down a goal, we end up with a 1-goal lead 6 minutes in. And everyone and their mother who's watched the Bruins this year went, ooh, it's almost worse when we have the 1-goal lead in the third period. Like, you'd almost prefer it to be overtime. Like, you tied them and you're getting over. Because you're like, they're going to tie it. They're going to tie it late in the period. It's going to be heartbreaking and we're going to lose it in the shootout. Or lose it in overtime or something like that. If you're going to be the negative thinking side. But I can't even blame you because that's what they've been doing all year, right? They've been giving up these late goals. No, they had a 1-goal lead. They eked out an empty netter. Huge. And for the game notes, the first one is Zadorov, Peak, Lohrei, Wotherspoon, Callahan, Carlo. Every single one of them deserves a ton of credit for this victory. Because although Swayman had an excellent game, and Swayman is another game note here, he's elevated his game. He's locked in. I mean, just awesome. Love watching great goaltending. But the defensive structure was there. They were clearing pucks out consistently. They were blocking a lot of shots. They were in the way. They were using their reach. We're a tall, lengthy team. They were using that ability to really make it difficult for the Avs to get a clean look. And, of course, the Avalanche, again, they have injuries. They've got new players trying to figure it out. They've got heartbroken guys who just lost a close friend going to another team. Like, there's all sorts of other things going on here. But still, great structure. Great ability to finish the game. This was by the book of what this Bruins team was built for. The way they envisioned them winning, this was it. Don't let the game get out of hand. Get a couple scoring chances, capitalized, and defend like your life depends on it. That's what they've been doing. Really awesome win. This is huge. This is a huge win. It doesn't change how I feel about the team overall, but man, what a good one. What a really good one. Don't ruin this for yourself by doing the whole well, the team actually sucks, we should be losing. This was fun. Enjoy it. This was a fun game, a really good one. Other game notes. Geekie's contract and Pasternak's impact. So, Geekie's an RFA. I am terrified that Geekie will be paid like a top-line winger on the extension by Sweeney. Because I don't believe he's a line-driving winger like that. I think if we could keep it between $4 and $5 million a year, I'd be very happy with that. I still think the 5 is just a little rich because I think he's a versatile middle sixer. I think he's a good hockey player who's creating a great chemistry rapport with Pastrnak and Zacha. That's very valuable, but it's if you overcommit to a guy like this as if he's a top-line winger, it is bad for the team. Because if Pastrnak, God forbid, missed any time, we're going right back to where we were, and you can't spend a lot of cap on that. So I'm concerned but he absolutely has earned a decent extension, and he is, I mentioned it in the last video and the video before, I would keep Geekie around. I think he's the type of player you want to have during a rebuild. He's a good player. Like, I would keep him. I just think a lot of his production, as I think you could also agree with, is Pastrnak based. The only last game note for me is the Patra stuff, which it's not a fun, positive game note, but it is what it is. Patra wasn't good this game. He didn't have a good game, I didn't think. He had a couple nice plays, but for the most part, overholding the puck, losing the puck, getting knocked over. Not a good game for him. These games are exactly why I want him in the lineup. There's a lot of lessons to learn from this game. There's a lot of video that you can point to and be like, see, this is an easy fix. We got this. Look at, you spun to your left, you turned your head, spun to your left, you had two guys, like you could see them, then you turned, and you went to the boards, because you were trying to get away from the guy in front of you, the other two came into collapse, and you all of a sudden were in a board battle that you didn't want to be in, and not a winning one, and then it led to a goal against. Like, that's the kind of stuff where you said, oh, look, if you need to do that, you get the puck in deep. If you don't have a play, you make the simple play. You make the right play. It's little stuff like this that he knows. He's been through systems. He understands how to play the game. But you're really coaching out things that you can't get away with at the NHL level. This is why it's important for him to be in the NHL and in a top 6 role right now. Because it is development. NHL's not a developmental league. Every league's developmental. It just depends on where in development you are. Are you at the peak of your developmental process? Or are you just starting out? It's very different, but it does dictate where you go. I think that's clear. You want to know if this guy's ceiling is truly a top 6 center? This is how we're going to find out. He's 20 years old. I mean, that is young for this league right now, unless you're a superstar player. Let him marinate. All right, I've taken this video too long. It's ridiculous how much I talked because there wasn't a lot to talk about in this game, but I just like chatting, and this was a great win. Ah! Go Bees. Go Bees!